But welcome everybody. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button.
I remember in middle school when you felt self-conscious if you were the last one to go through puberty. That really went topsy-turvy, didn't it?
Sometimes the Hasbara, it's too much explaining yourself and it's too apologetic.
Be sure to hit the notifications bell.
I actually do believe Israel won't just bomb countless civilians.
Be sure to tweet this out. Be sure to put this up on your Facebook.
You have to be kind to people. Being kind is the guys in this mess in the first place.
You can put this up on your Reddit.
Chile is a country.
Be sure to cut and paste, a link to this to go into your favorite Facebook chat group.
It's good to see so many normal people in here.
Now, spanking isn't just my deep, dark personal secret. It's America's deep, dark secret.
I've never seen it explained so simply anywhere.
Put this on WhatsApp. Put this on Telegram. Put this on your favorite messenger app.
Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull called Elise. How's everybody doing, chat? Hello, old owl hootin', and wait a second, I'm gonna adjust this window. And Emily's 1255. How's everybody doing? I dropped a couple of links in chat just a moment ago. Those are for the current crowdfunded translation project, which is a long-form article from the legendary Chilean revolutionary monthly Punto Final from 1968 called Chile, the Ballad or the Bullet. I'm trying to raise $1,200 for that. I'm on $890. I kind of need the remainder ASAP just to cover some urgent expenses, and all support for the project is, as always, very much appreciated. Bonsoir, Adrien. So, let's get stuck in. We have a video that is getting talked about a fair bit, and I thought we might have a look at it. ContraPoints has decided to leave the left, it seems. But, oh, that's right, I almost forgot. Genocidal ghoul and current Speaker of the UN General Assembly, Annalena Baerbock, was on The Daily Show, and that's the sort of gruesome shit that we like to look at on this stream, so I thought we'd have a look at that and just see how she manages to sort of do the thing that German politicians do. Where, you see, the thing is, there are kind of two Germanys. There's the Germany you read about in the English language media. You'll remember that Germany is the one where Angela Merkel is this great humanitarian who cared so much about refugees and all that stuff. Then there's the Germany you read about in German language media, where, for example, Angela Merkel was immediately working on changing the laws to make it easier to send refugees back to their deaths from the very moment that they started arriving. And so you have two very, very different Germanys, depending on whether you speak German and can read the media in German rather than just what you hear in the US and the just general Anglosphere. So Annalena Baerbock, for anyone not familiar, was foreign minister for like the first year and a half of the genocide in Gaza. She was an enthusiastic backer of the genocide. She gave speeches about how actually attacking civilians, attacking hospitals and schools was fine if you claimed that maybe terrorists had used them at some point. She also once claimed to have seen a video of sexual violence by Hamas on October 7th, even though Israel itself claims that no such video exists. That's the sort of genocidal ghoul Annalena Baerbock is. She was also, of course, responsible as German foreign minister for ensuring that weapons flowed freely to Israel, as they continue to do, in order to facilitate the genocide. So let's see. Let's see how this goes.
President, Your Excellency, Ambassador, what is the preferred title?
Defendant. The preferred title is defendant. She ought to be in the fucking Hague.
Whatever you choose, or Annalena, but it's hard. It's in Lena, not Lena.
Annalena.
Yes.
That sounds
like.
And I said Lena.
No.
Because did I pronounced it correctly?
Yes,
I think you might be wrong.
Well, I'm glad he's really kind of getting into the important stuff here. These are the questions that you really should ask somebody with Annalena Baerbock's level of criminality.
After 46 years, thank you for
No, you're very welcome. I've been meaning to do that. You are the president of the United Nations General Assembly. I think most people did not realize that there is a president of the General Assembly. How long is that?
And a lot of people did not realize that it was somehow possible for somebody this roundly condemned to end up as it. Like, I mean, that was actually, frankly, quite shocking.
Term, what are the duties?
Indeed, it's a very short term. It's only 1 year time. So in German, we would say you're just being thrown into the water, the cold water, we say in Germany.
Sure.
And then you just have to start swimming, and yeah.
Or drown. Drowning would be fine.
The job is to bring the whole international family, so 193, to the table. Sounds quite similar, but in a time.
I mean, this is in a time where the overwhelming majority of the international family is on one side, and Germany is on the other.
Where one of these member states might have a nuclear weapon and the other one just has a conflict. Imagine if you bring your family to the Thanksgiving.
Wait. One of them might have a nuclear weapon. And the other just has a conflict. Like, I have a feeling there are some countries that definitely do have nuclear weapons, actually. I feel like there are actually quite a few of those. And maybe the one that just has a conflict, maybe they're one of the ones that definitely do have nuclear weapons and have been kind of fucking profligately, promiscuously even, threatening to use them of late. Like, I mean, this is already just fucking wild. Let's see, is Jon Stewart going to call any of this bullshit out?
Table, and you have the cranky uncle, and you have your hippie mother, and then you just sing from the same songbook. It's also a hard job, so.
Yeah, it's you know, you have the cranky uncle and the hippie mother, and there's a songbook and nobody wants to sing from it. Yeah, and you happen to be a war criminal. Like, oof.
Yes, in these times where not everybody is ready to sing from the same songbook anymore,
I wonder why that is. What's in the songbook? Sag uns mal, was steht in dieser Hymnale?
Biggest task is actually to defend the songbook, the Charter of the United Nations.
Wait, she's gonna defend the UN Charter. She's gonna defend the UN Charter. Like, she's wiped her ass on it for her entire time as fucking foreign minister. She's gonna defend the UN Charter?
Peace and security, sustainable development, and human rights.
Right.
Hey, Badger.
For the United Nations. That's what they do. In that analogy.
Yeah, I mean, and of course it's a U.S. audience, and you can tell because nobody says, what the fuck do you have to do with any of those things?
Does the crazy uncle or the hippie mom have the nuclear weapon?
Well, frankly speaking, in history, the woman hardly had the nuclear weapon.
What? What? Like, what even is this? Like, okay, what is even that answer?
No, this is what he was going. So, as president, you are tasked with selecting, or at least doing the interviews for the next Secretary General. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, wow, that bodes well.
How many candidates do you have? Is this like a Monster.com. How do they...
Well, yeah, I mean, Monster is not actually wrong in this particular case.
How do you get candidates to be the Secretary General? How are they submitted?
Well, I mean, you just sort of see which one of them would blow the United States the hardest.
Is it controversial?
Yes, and it will be probably the hardest job interview ever, because these 193 member states, they can all ask the question, be interviewed. So I'm presiding over it. It starts tomorrow, actually. So if you want to see it, yeah, live on UN.
Wait, they can all ask one question? Like, not literally one question, I would hope, because that's not great.
Oh my
Web
God.
TV. So
wait, what? You're going to do this live?
yes, transparency we do have in the international community.
Well, I mean, as opposed to with the German Foreign Ministry.
Let me ask you a question. What is the cutoff for resumes? And could I do it once a week?
The interview?
The job.
The job. Well, unfortunately,
It's a little more
it's
strenuous
a
than that.
24/7 job. But
How many people are you interviewing?
at the moment, 4. So yeah, the question was, so how is the process? You have.
I thought the question was, who are you saying might have a nuclear weapon? And who just has a conflict? But you seem to have skated right past that, and John doesn't seem keen on coming back to it. Like, here's the thing. There is just the question, is this person actually the right kind of guest to have on your sort of liberal comedy news show? Because the most of the questions you would have to ask her, if you wanted to do a proper job of it, are not exactly comedic sorts of questions. And you'd have to be willing to see her storm off in a huff, which would actually be refreshing, because she gets so many fucking softballs lobbed at her.
To be nominated by a member state.
Okay.
There was a strong call for women, so 193 member states.
There's never been a woman secretary
actually
general.
agreed on one thing, that they strongly called on the nomination of women. Yes, because for 80 years there never has been a woman. And I mean, all women here probably and out there in the world, we have heard it all before. It was really hard to find one, but explaining that after 80 years you could not find a woman if you have 4.
Well, like, if that was the criterion, I have a feeling you could probably find one better than Annalena fucking Baerbock.
Billion potential candidates, because there are 4 billion women and girls around the world. It's really hard to explain.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's how they do the CV pool. They start out with, like, all 8 billion people and just sort of narrow it down from there.
Here's the other thing, too. My guess is they'll bring in a woman to run it just at the point where it's basically unrunnable. Is it?
No, I mean, actually, that does sound about right, because at this point, like, what the fuck even is the United Nations? It has been completely and utterly discredited. I mean, like, between the Security Council actually endorsing the genocide and condemning Iran for engaging in self-defense, and the UN as a body doing basically nothing to protect Palestinians throughout any of this. I mean, like, all the things that were supposed to be sort of justifying the existence of the UN, it has completely not done.
Is it runnable anymore at the UN? You have the Security Council, which can veto. I mean, Russia and China vetoed a resolution to keep the Strait of Hormuz open.
Well, to keep the Strait of Hormuz open to countries engaged in aggression against Iran. It was open to everybody else already.
That's where China gets a lot of its oil from the Strait of Hormuz, and they still vetoed it.
Well, because they're not having any problems, because they're not actually engaged in aggression against Iran, and also they have a land route.
How difficult is it to even wrangle these countries anymore for resolutions?
Like, I mean, I love how he's just acting like this is just such a wild thing to do. I mean, what was wild was that they did not veto the Bahraini resolution condemning Iran for engaging in self-defense, if anything, because it's actually kind of, when you like pay attention to the facts at all, it's kind of obvious why Iran has every fucking right to not allow countries engaged in aggressive war against it to go through its territorial waters.
Yeah, if you want to have an easy job, that's not the right
It's not the right to be at the UN.
Sure. But on the other hand, I mean, there's always another option. So when they vetoed it in the Security Council, and to those watching, so they are the 5 permanent members. They do have the veto because for historical reasons.
Right.
And there has been a new initiative.
Precisely why the UN is fucking useless for these things.
Because obviously the vetoes in the Security Council led to the situation that in the past many conflicts could not be solved, and it was also to the damage for the United Nations because it's about the credibility. So the
I wonder if there's one there that where you were the one, you were amongst those supporting the vetoes that made it impossible to solve a conflict. Like,
majority of member states said, then you have to come to the General Assembly where all the 193 member states are. And this happened last week, so I called for this session saying this has to come now for the General Assembly. We had a big debate with many states underlining...
Well, okay, so not for the genocide in Gaza that's still going on, but for the Strait of Hormuz, which is only closed to countries currently engaged in aggressive war against Iran.
That in an interconnected world, what happened in one part of the world affects everybody. So oil prices have exploded. One country even declared the state of energy emergency because obviously for poorer countries, this is a total disaster. It's
I wonder if there's like one particular very small enclosed area of land where they've been under basically a complete fuel embargo for 3 years almost, that nobody seems to care too much about.
So after this session, we saw the ceasefire negotiations coming back together again. We have now this kind of unstable ceasefire.
That Israel and the U.S. are blocking, are just violating with fairly wild abandon.
So hopefully everybody understands now that in this situation nobody can win if we're not coming back to diplomatic terms. And
oh yeah, also Cuba, but I meant Gaza. I mean, Gaza has been under the kind of conditions that the U.S. has imposed on Cuba for nearly 3 years.
That the United Nations is the only place where you can bring together all member states from around the world.
Yeah, and yet it's kind of not, though, because you can bring everybody from around the world together and then they can't fucking do anything because the U.S. vetoes it anytime they propose to do something useful.
Epcot Center. That's a place. Different. I think
probably more relevant.
Let me ask you a question. Are we putting too much on the United Nations? You know, my image of the United Nations is like that. It's the General Assembly, and we come in and we make peace deals. But maybe that's never really been its function. It seems like what it does well, because a well-timed resolution, what does that really do anyway, if it's vetoed or not vetoed? But it seems what the UN does well is, as kind of an international cleanup crew for the mess that the other nations make. You do foreign aid.
Okay, I'm gonna just sort of skip through a list a little bit because I want to know: does he ever get? Does he?
Clear, without this United Nations, without the Charter, nothing in the world would be better off. Sometimes people call the UN naive with all the morals and all the principles.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, that's something that Balbok has said versions of when she was explaining why she doesn't think that the Geneva Conventions protect Palestinians.
But the grandfathers and mothers, they've been through the worst in life, 2 world conflicts, a genocide with 6 million Jews being killed. Back then also, many countries, more than 50 was...
I wonder if there's been a recent genocide that you could ask about, John, like anything. This is like, I can't, the level of just kind of softballs that she's being
still under colonial power. So this house was built to have at least some progress. And as you were mentioning, the vast majority of the work of the United Nations is to prevent conflict. Unfortunately, especially in these times, hate clicks 6 times better. So the good stories hardly make it to the headlines.
And also, there aren't a lot of them.
Journalists don't write about the war, which didn't happen. We learned it also in COVID, in the pandemic. There's no glory in prevention.
Well, which is why everybody forgets what China, Vietnam, and Cuba did, but everybody knows that the US and Western Europe kind of just allowed it to ravage their populations and still do.
But this is exactly the main work the UN is doing, preventing that
different conflicts.
That out of a famine, another war would happen. Preventing that with regard to, for example, when we had the pandemic, where no army in the world could stop the virus.
We still have the pandemic.
Because it didn't have any passports, even the strongest countries could not do it alone. It needed the United Nations with the World Health Organization to do the vaccination for half of the world's population children going around. They don't have smallpox anymore. This is thanks to the UN.
I mean, you haven't been downtown. Believe me. Since Mamdani, that's all about. What I'm effective, or is there a way to sell it to the new populist regimes that want nothing to do with international order? They don't want international climate treaties. They don't want
the new populist regimes, like this language.
International peace treaties, it seems. They don't want international rules of order. They want might make right. How does the UN deal with that?
Main question 1. So maybe start.
You have 20 seconds.
I can share it. That's the...
Yeah, maybe she could explain how to get Germany to comply with international law, which is technically right in Article 25 of their constitution. Not that you'd know about it these days.
The best what politicians can do. We are very short in answering questions here. So, I don't know, 30 seconds are over.
No.
Like, she's not been asked a single question that makes her even slightly uncomfortable.
I cherry pick. Well, first of all, you're 100% right. The main job is to bring food, literally, to the people. And this.
Okay, so how about Gaza, where they're not allowed to bring food to the people, and in fact, Israel and the U.S. are killing the people who try.
This is what I said also when we started this so-called.
And like, speaking of the World Health Organization, which you just mentioned a minute ago, Israel just like bombed the World Health Organization in Lebanon. Maybe you could talk about that, Annalena?
80th session, actually it's the 80th anniversary, not so much to celebrate at these times at the UN, but when we started the 80th session, speaking in front of all heads of state, remembering them, no single day would the world be better off without the United Nations, because millions of people would literally starve. You could not enter an airplane safely, none of us, because the Civil Aviation Organization is based with the United Nations. So for all of us, it's in our interest, and not only for the few people around the world to have this United Nation. But on the other hand, obviously, something now might is right, but we have seen also lately with the Strait of Hormuz that obviously this conflict does not only affect everybody, but also you need the support of others to open the Strait of Hormuz.
Or the U.S. just needs to stop engaging in aggression and link spam. The U.S. also needs to stop engaging in link spam. Like, this is not complicated, actually. The reason that the Strait of Hormuz is closed to countries engaged in aggression against Iran is because countries are engaged in aggression against Iran. If they stop that, stop all the aggression and reach reasonable terms, which then it will be opened. It's a fucking bargaining chip.
And this is why, for me, it's crystal clear, the International Peace Order, the Charter of the United Nations, is a life insurance for everyone. Right. And nobody...
I mean, I have to say, the Palestinians have been trying to cash in on that policy for a while now. I mean, and not just them, like the Iranians have been trying to cash in on that policy. Lots of people. Iraqis, Afghans, have been trying to cash in on that fucking life insurance policy. I have to say, it's not a great life insurance policy. And in any case, the thing about a life insurance policy is it pays out when you fucking die. It does not insure your life. It ensures that the people you want to insure are okay after you die are okay. Like, that is not a great example. That's not a great metaphor to be using. Actually, in a way, it kind of is. Because it does not actually keep you from getting killed, but maybe it will make things a little bit better for the people you leave behind, I guess is the idea.
You could sleep in silence and peace if we would accept that a bigger neighbor can just invade the neighboring country in the future. And as you mentioned, the climate
Well, you do accept that in point of fact.
crisis. I mean, you can deny it, you can just pretend it's not there, but we could see all over the world the wildfires, which also do not stop at the richest neighborhoods in every country around the world, because like the pandemic and the virus, also CO2 doesn't have a passport, and it will just spread all over the world.
I mean, actually, as it happens, the rich and powerful are fairly well protected from the virus because they're taking all the measures for themselves that they tell us we don't need.
So we can only fight it together in our own interest.
Would you like to see the UN have more teeth in terms of enforcement, like where they could levy fines? Do they levy fines? I don't know what they can do. I know there's certain peacekeeping things, but when, let's say somebody does violate international norms...
I mean, the thing is, it does have... This is a silly question, and it's really clear he does not know a lot about this. Because the UN does have teeth. If the Security Council is on side, and there are countries willing to back it up, the UN has teeth. The problem is not that the UN lacks teeth. The problem is that there is no mechanism. By design, there is no mechanism to counter the agendas of the most powerful countries, the permanent members. There's no way that you can hold the Security Council accountable when they flagrantly violate international laws. They did when they endorsed the fucking so-called Board of Peace for Gaza, the Wannsee Conference 2.0.
International law, UN... I mean, the UN has said Israel has violated,
Oh! Okay. I was hoping I was beginning to despair, in fact, that we might get to this.
Treaties, and yet nothing happens to them. What could happen? Can they levy fines? Can they charge countries? Like in baseball, if you throw at some...
Okay, I'm very curious how she's going to deal with this.
Buddy.
Well, it's not the world police, yeah, so you cannot just
What
say...
if it were the world police?
Well, we tried it with some courts. For example, the International Criminal Court. Unfortunately, the biggest powers, they did not ratify.
Well, yes, and powers like Germany, second-tier powers, have refused to comply when people get charged that they support.
But this is again the strength of the United Nations.
Right. You have to keep at it. You have to keep trying.
Others said we move forward. And
So, John, she completely avoided saying anything about Israel there. Like, made me bring up Netanyahu's fucking warrants.
this court, as you asked, can you try people? Yes, they did.
Yeah, I know. This is the closest thing to a critical question he has asked. It is like he does not actually know who he's interviewing. That is my most charitable read of it, and a U.S. liberal who is not specifically paying attention to the ghoulishness that has characterized German politics in the past couple of years, and that she has really been emblematic of, I could actually imagine that he does not realize who the hell he's got, but he's like got a research staff. There are people who check this stuff out. Like, they could find just how, like, genocidal she is. And not a single fucking question.
They tried one of the biggest war criminals when we had the Balkan Wars. When we had
Talk about Milosevic, I think.
Yes,
yeah.
we had Srebrenica, so a genocide going on. So they tried them in front of...
Wait, okay, so here's the thing. You cannot, on the one hand, acknowledge Srebrenica as a genocide, and then do, as she has done, this thing where you say, oh, they haven't killed anywhere near enough people in Gaza for it to be a genocide. Yes, she is the former German foreign minister. Now she is the president of the UN General Assembly. As German foreign minister, she was responsible for making sure German weapons were delivered in a timely fashion to Israel. She justified every single war crime. claimed that it's totally okay to just bomb schools and hospitals and UN shelters and stuff like that, as long as you claim that terrorists have at some point used them. She has, like, literally there's not a war crime, there's not a crime against humanity that she's not made excuses for. She is a truly vile person, and if the ICC were actually doing its job, in fact, actually, if the German courts were doing the job that is laid out for them in German law, she would be facing criminal charges. In fact, there are criminal charges pending against her in Germany. The European Legal Support Center and I think the Hind Rajab Foundation, amongst others, have filed criminal complaints against her for accessory to genocide. Well, Italy has been kind of hedging on their support of late, because not because Giorgia Meloni is a good person, because she's not, but they are terrified of the general strikes that keep happening for Palestine. Because, like, when they do a general strike in Italy, shit just stops. And, and it just also just completely shows how powerless these tough-talking fascist assholes are when you've got, like, when you've got millions of people who have decided they're going to shut the economy down for a day or two. Because they were, they shake their fists, oh, you can't be doing this, you can't be doing this. And it was like, fuck you, yes we can. And so that actually has led Meloni to be a little bit more careful about just how much support she gives to the Zionist genocidal regime. But no, there's no such caution on the part of German politicians.
For court, now, for example, with regard to the Philippines, they had Duterte, the dictator, back there. So there's an international arrest warrant, and he will be probably tried in front of
and Netanyahu! Ask about Netanyahu!
The ICC, the International Criminal Court. For others who have not ratified it, for example, with Assad, then it's not possible, but there are also arrest warrants. You mentioned a couple of them with different wars going on right now.
Like Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant. Like, somebody mentioned that.
So these...
Who's the worst country right now?
Well, I'm the president.
Is it us?
I'm the president of the...
Well, yes, it is. It is literally always us. It is literally, like, it is us, by default. But she's never going to say that, and that's why she's president of the UNGA.
Assembly speaking on behalf of all of them.
Right. Who would they all say is the worst country?
Well, we got polls, John. We got polls, and yeah, it's the U.S. Especially in the Arab-Iranian region. Everybody fucking hates the U.S. there.
Well... Obviously, the worst are those who deny dignity from other human beings.
I wonder if this is. I wonder if this is at all an ironic thing she's saying here, given her own role.
And this is why we have to stand up for it every day. Otherwise.
Ja, außer in Gaza. In Gaza braucht man für die Menschenwürde ja nicht eintreten, denn also irgendwas mit Staatsräson.
Back to my own country again. More than 80 years ago.
Why? Not just more than 80 years ago. How about right now?
It's so hard for us to learn that lesson. It really blows my mind.
In fact, you could just ask, since she's a German politician, how is it so fucking hard for you to learn this lesson? Because she hasn't.
That this idea that violence and might makes right, to take us back to a world that we were when colonial powers and imperial powers ruled.
So now, that's now, John. And, like, Germany is currently doing a massive military build-up in order to try to invade Russia again. They've even announced that they're going to, like, fucking draft 70-year-olds. Because apparently somebody worked out that actually when Germany invades Russia, it doesn't go well, and then they end up having the front line be in Berlin, and there's no soldiers left, and so you need little kids and old people to pretend to defend the capital.
War was inevitable in almost every location.
Oh, God, that must have been such a weird time.
It's almost shocking to see how far we've come, and yet...
What? What? The U.S. has been at war with multiple countries for this entire century. There has not been a single day since the turn of the century, and actually since before then, that the U.S. has not been waging war against somebody. Like, what the fuck is he talking about? The U.S. occupied Iraq, is still occupying Iraq, occupied Afghanistan for 20 plus years, like, started a war with Yemen in order to stop them sanctioning Israel for the genocide that the U.S. was supporting and still is. Like, is currently, engaging in aggression against Colombia, Ecuador, and Venezuela, and fucking Cuba. What the fuck is he talking about? Wow, that must have been so wild back then. Motherfucker, it's today.
People want to go back to that much more barbaric way of governance. Is that what's talked about in the halls, or are the halls of the UN a more administrative place than a philosophical place?
Well, this is a philosophical question.
That's why I'm not in the halls of the UN.
Yeah.
I would say it's like there is people have a remarkable ability to not know things that they are paid not to know. God, who said something? Was that Gore Vidal who said that, or was that Orwell? Somebody said something like that you'll never get a man to understand a thing he's being paid not to understand. Yeah, Germany's doing this whole thing. I mean, they're doing this build-up. They're claiming that Russia is totally going to invade Germany in 2029. Never mind that Russia is barely managing a stalemate against Ukraine, the poorest country in Europe. Like, there's no way that they're going to invade a NATO country, and there's no reason to believe it. But it is their justification for switching everything to war production, expanding the reviving conscription and expanding it, just militarizing the fuck out of society, taking, they've been taking money out of any kind of social welfare programs for decades now, and now they're just tearing it away and just dumping it all into the war machine. This is just, it's like World War II revanchism didn't go away. It just kind of laid low for a generation.
So, I would say all, because it's just the diversity of the whole...
Hey, Hail Satine! We're watching John Stewart lob softballs at one of the worst war criminals of our time.
And you asked before, what do we have to do and what would be the biggest task?
Well, what about accountability? For somebody who spread genocidal propaganda in order to justify sending weapons to an ongoing genocide, and now likes to pretend that none of that actually happened and avoid any question that even tangentially touches on those facts? Maybe one place to start would be putting your ass in jail, Frau Baerbock.
Me and the Secretary General Antonio Guterres at the moment to reform the United Nations.
I mean, Guterres is part of the fucking problem too. If you listen to his statements, every time Israel kills UN employees, which they do kind of often, I think they've actually broken the world record for most UN employees killed by any fucking country. And he will never say who did it. He'll be like Israel will bomb a fucking UN school or something like that, bomb an UNRWA depot, kill a whole bunch of UN employees, and he'll be like, UN employees cannot be killed like this. It is unacceptable. We will not, and never say who did it.
Make it more efficient, because the truth is...
I mean, on a certain level you could measure it. I mean, you can quantify it to some extent. Like, there are certain things that you would just have to ask somebody like this for it to be at all a worthwhile interview. And they pretty much all have to do with her role in the genocide in Gaza. And like follow-ups of the way that, like, this fucking Lady Macbeth act she's doing now, where she's talking about this, like, this is, like, nothing to do with her.
As well.
Well, I mean, not even really talking about it.
And I'm not a fan of sugarcoating, so we have to.
Really, you aren't. You were just describing. I don't know if you were there for this. Well, Old Howell Houghton, you were there. A couple of other people who joined might have missed this, where she was talking about how the UN General Assembly. It's like you have your crazy uncle, and you have your hippie mother, and one of them maybe they have nuclear weapons. And the other, they just have a conflict, and it's like yeah, not a fan of sugarcoating is Annalena Baerbock. She really will not sugarcoat things. Like, she was pressed on who she was saying might have a nuclear weapon, and who just has a conflict. Well, he didn't press her on that second part. And she just dodged the question. Every time anything that is even tangentially related to things she bears personally responsibility. I almost said there. Personal responsibility for. I mean, she dodges them seamlessly. This could be an Olympic event.
Face it, that over 80 years, it has built up on mandates, resolution by resolution. So we have 40,000 mandates. Obviously not very efficient, yeah?
Well, yeah, especially because you just kind of allow permanent Security Council members and their emotional support apartheid regimes to murder the people carrying out those mandates with total impunity.
So in every company, you would just modernize your system, and this is what we're
doing. So okay, she wants to bring neoliberalism to the UN. It's already there,
right
actually.
Now,
but
we're in the midst of a deep reform called UN80. But at the other hand, you should not use the shortcomings in trying to destroy the whole house, and this is where we are faced in, and you were addressing also the...
Speaking of destroying houses, is there anyone doing rather a lot of that right now? Somebody who, like, maybe you've supported?
Financial situation. If member states, and unfortunately also the host country, do not pay their bill anymore,
yeah, I mean, that is true, actually. As much as it pains me to point out that anything she says is true, because... like, you should not hand it to somebody like this. But, yeah, the U.S. has a long history of just defaulting on their UN membership dues.
Obviously, this house cannot function. And in a situation that people, especially children, are dying in this minute, you have, like...
well, what if some of them are also just being murdered in this minute?
8 in warehouses. This is obviously a situation which cannot go on. So
especially before this situation isn't going on because the warehouses keep getting bombed by somebody nobody's going to ask about.
Therefore, as the president of the General Assembly, I can only recall that no, they would be better off without the UN, and this is why we should all strengthen this house of peace and this house of humanity.
Have you thought about... Oh, please!
A house where she's welcome is neither of those things.
I couldn't agree more that it needs to be reformed. And so my last question is, have you thought about letting the Ellisons buy it? So they ran Skydance. It's a very small production house. And then they bought...
Okay, that's enough of that. So we're gonna change gears. I heard ContraPoints decided to have some opinions lately. It's a long-ass conversation, but it is chapterized, so hopefully I'm gonna find the thing that I'm actually looking for.
The West has...
Let me know if I need to adjust. Okay, let's see. Somebody said it was around an hour in. Okay, so we're gonna just sort of jump in. This is a chapter apparently called Luigi versus Justice, which I haven't seen that particular Mario Brothers game. I hear maybe it's good.
Well, I guess I'm a little off the topic of law, but to dwell on the Luigi point, like, I think that the popularity of Luigi...
See, apparently, let me just say, what I'm trying to find here, and I seem to remember somebody saying that it was around an hour in that she, like, actually brings up Gaza, which she has previously had some really, really dog shit takes on. So, I'm curious, and apparently she's gotten worse. And
is an expression of a kind of popular frustration with the law.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, in this case, the law is not going to punish a health insurance CEO, right? So I think there's a wish for someone else to do it.
It even rewards them.
It even rewards
making
them,
a lot of money.
For sure, yeah. So there's a sense of like that injustice that sort of lingers over us all every day in society. That's the appeal of the vigilante. Is that the vigilante like reclaims the ability to punish from a legal system that has a monopoly on violent punishment. Yeah. And I think in some ways it also comes...
Ricer rune, the rune that makes mashed potatoes.
It's from the lack of things like public executions where there's popular participation, at least as spectators, in this kind of people come together to attack a guilty person. I think also social media kind of works this way too. Like, I mean, way too much has been said about cancel mobs or whatever on Twitter, but I do think that it's also similar. It's an execution
in the public square.
Kind of public execution,
the digital public
square. It's a digital execution.
Yeah. No, wait, okay. Cancel mobs are a digital like, we're talking about criticizing public figures online for saying shitty things. That's a public execution to her.
And
drawn and quartered on social media.
I think sometimes you could categorize this as justice. Sometimes it's almost closer to like human sacrifice, which is a French philosopher, René Girard, who talks about
I'm familiar,
scapegoating, and as this like very central like facet of religious life, or like most major religions in the ancient world practiced either animal or human sacrifice, and then over time that has kind of declined, in part as religion internalizes that type of aggression, right? So in Christianity, Jesus is a human sacrifice. He is. It's not an ongoing sacrifice of living people, but that's supposed to be a kind of substitute sacrifice.
We reenact it every week.
We reenact it every week.
If anyone in chat wants to find me the timestamp where she actually talks about Gaza, nobody has to do this, of course. We'll just look through this and just see what there is to see. But if anyone, I'm sure somebody's written down the exact timestamp. Actually, maybe it's in the comments. I'm going to look at the comments. Yes, Richard Room. Okay, maybe the comments say where she said shitty things about Gaza. The only deep hurting I know is from MST3K. Oh, I know that reference well. Hey, did you see they found one of the missing masters for the early KTMA episodes? They found the VHS tape. It was just lying around someplace, and it's still in good shape. It's on YouTube now. Yeah. I mean, I was never particularly impressed with her to begin with. She always struck me as kind of just a lib. Okay, well, yeah. Nobody has to go and do a fucking research project on my behalf. I just figured I would ask. Okay, so Luigi versus...
sort of all our sins, or all the kind of maybe aggression we feel towards other people gets...
All the arsons. Oh, let's just clear a little thing up. The national average for warehouse fires is like 6 a day. It is not unusual. Like, they're getting a lot of attention at this point because there was one that definitely was arson, and the guy filmed it and said, everything, all you had to do was pay us enough to fucking live, and now everybody's acting like every fucking warehouse fire must be a copycat action, but actually they burn down all the time. Warehouse fires happen all the time. Most of the time it's it's just like faulty wiring, or somebody was not careful, or somebody wants the insurance money or some shit. Yeah, they redid a bunch of the ones that they watched for KTMA.
Displaced onto the sacrificial lamb, and that theoretically would sort of reduce the need for, well, it's supposed to do what human sacrifice used to do, which is increase social cohesion by displacing intra-community aggression and rivalry onto a scapegoat, right?
Is there also a part of it where it's like the demonstration of the society's values? Like, why did they do like executions in the public square, for example? Is because it had to be made visible to a bunch of people?
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's it is, I think, a clarification of a moral order. Ritual usually is some form of that, right? I think public execution is a version of that.
People forget how fucking popular that shit was.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's an impressive level of amnesia, actually.
Yeah.
That, like, you have like Michael Moore being booed in Hollywood for his opposition to the war. It's hard to imagine like today that like liberals were basically also down with
I got
this.
bullied in high school. Now that I was repressed, I got bullied in high school for being against the war. I wasn't patriotic.
I do. You fuck these people. We were right the whole time. Do you hate the troops? I mean, that's what they would say.
Yeah.
Like, if you're against the war, you hate. Oh, as a filmmaker, to figure out how to use that to produce like violence as pleasure. Right? The pleasure of. Maybe I'm overactive in my anxiety about it, but maybe I'm not. I mean, I think that some people are going to see, some people are going to retaliate for the hundreds of videos they've seen of children being blown up. That sort of worries me. Not just seen of.
Okay, I think I may have found it finally.
Many is justified because I don't want to feel good about criminal sadism. Or War Dogs, which is about criminality, and criminal violence.
Yeah.
And that violence is also kind of presented as fun, but in a more ambivalent way, right? Where the famous scene with Mr. Blonde torturing a cop, there's something fun about it, in the way there's something fun about the portrayal of sexual violence in A Clockwork Orange, right? It's like this amplified, sort of musical, ecstatic, joyous, like, sadism.
Yeah.
And that's really uncomfortable, I think, for most viewers. It's uncomfortable for me to watch.
Definitely.
Because I don't want to feel good about...
Apparently, yes, it is. Like, somebody linked to this. Who is this guy? I've never heard of him. Like, is this guy a kind of guy?
Criminal sadism. But then I also feel that the kind of the feel-good violence of a revenge movie, or the feel-good violence of a kind of social justice revenge movie, which is what I take Django Unchained and Glorious Bastards to be. I mean, I think it shows that like this is what it takes to make people feel that violence is justified, or to celebrate violence. So I think that's certainly like an important part of the mindset of the IDF and of Kahanism, or what do you want to call it in general?
Zionism, I think, is the word for it.
The idea of like, look, Jews have been victimized for 2,000 years. We will always be victimized. We will always be besieged. We will always be hated.
Yeah, like this is not Kahanism. This is literally, this is Zionism as Hatza actually promoted it.
And the only way for us to survive is to fight back. That's how they think, right?
Well, except they don't fight back. Fighting back would have meant, for example, like resisting the pogroms. Actually, resisting the pogroms in Europe and organizing armed resistance to the Nazis and things like that. And the Zionists did not do that. I mean, let me just be clear, because Zionists will often boast about the fact that there were Zionists who fought in like the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, and it's true, there were. But what they leave out is that the Zionist leadership did not want them to. They said it wasn't their fight. They had arranged like these Hashomer Hatzoyer youth group members passage to Palestine, and just to get them away from there. And they told them, don't get involved in this. Just get down to Palestine and kill Palestinians for us. And they said no. Like, to their absolute credit, they said, no, our people are getting fucking murdered. We got to do something about this. And they absolutely did the right thing. But that was not the Zionist mainstream position. And it still isn't now, which is why you see Zionists still sucking up to, like, the most genocidal anti-Semitic assholes. Like, so like, Zionism has never been about fighting back. Because fighting back is when you fight the people who are attacking you. And the Palestinians weren't doing shit to us. Like that's not who we've had beef with for like 2,000 years. That was white Christians, the most dangerous neighbors Jews have ever had.
And that's why all of this seems justified. Now I have this other worry, and this is where I've caused myself to become an arch villain of the online left recently.
Oh, here it comes. Now, this is going to be because she massively understated the number of people murdered, and
also worry that there'll be a backlash to that as well.
A backlash to what?
Well, a backlash to the visible spectacle of Israel's ethnic cleansing.
Like, okay, but why would you worry about there being a backlash to genocide, which she doesn't want to call it? Like, I think there should be a backlash to genocide, actually. Like, there's not enough backlash to genocide, if you ask me. Like, what do you mean?
Which kind of, I think, has led many people to have an almost obsessive fixation on Israel and Zionism as, like, the great Satan.
Well, you mean just because they're carrying on... Oh, he's post-left. Okay. Yeah, okay. Never heard of this guy. Although I do hear that, he can keep mosquitoes away. Like, I wonder if the reason people are focused so heavily on that particular genocide is that the U.S. is, like, is making it possible and they want to do something about it, and they see the great and the good just lying about it and trying to make it appear that it's not happening. Like,
right. Which maybe I'm overactive in my anxiety about it, but maybe I'm not. I mean, I think that...
What is your anxiety? So far, all that she said is that she's worried there might be a backlash against the genocide. Well, why? That's a weird thing to worry about, I have to say.
Some people are going to want to retaliate for...
I mean, yeah. Some people do want to retaliate against Israel for the fucking genocide, and yeah, I mean, Israel has brought it on themselves. And the fact that, like, 90% of the settler population in polls says, yeah, they want more genocide, they're all for it. Even if they don't like... The genocide is more popular there than Netanyahu is. Don't let anyone tell you this is all Netanyahu, because the genocide is one of the most popular things in the entity right now. So yeah, if somebody's retaliating against the entity to try to get them to stop committing genocide, that does not actually ContraPoints, dear Natalie, seem like a bad thing. Actually, perhaps you could elaborate on that.
The hundreds of videos they've seen of children being blown up. That sort of worries me. Not just for the victims of the retaliation, but for the continued
if it is actually retaliation, then the victim is a weird word for it, because we're talking about people who are murdering children by the hundreds and thousands. Like, if it actually, if she wants to say she's worried that this is that the way that Israel and the Zionist movement try to claim that Jews are all behind this and act like and equate us with the Zionist regime and make us essentially responsible for their crimes. I mean, and she's saying she's worried that there will be that this will result in misdirected retaliation where it's taken out on us rather than the people actually doing the genocide. I mean, she should just fucking say that. Because when she uses retaliation this way, either it sounds like she's saying she's worried that something's going to happen to Israel that's committing genocide, or it sounds like she's saying that, yes, actually, it is reasonable to blame Jews for all of this.
Escalation of violence that it implies. I don't have an answer. I don't know what to do about it.
It's actually kind of hard to imagine how you could escalate the violence that's already going on.
I'm watching like a train wreck.
Like, I mean, this is so fucking vague. Like, what does she mean? An escalation of the violence? Like, by who? Like, what is she talking about? That, when she says an escalation of the violence in the region, it already sounds like she's talking about somebody fucking, like, retaliating against Israel, the country carrying out the genocide. Like, in which case, why the fuck would that be a bad thing? Like, was it a bad thing when people retaliated against Germany? I seem to remember everybody kind of agreeing, except for Nazis, that that was a good thing, actually. Well, Nazis and Gandhi.
In the same way that I think on October 7th, when that news came in, of course I was horrified by the attack itself and the victims.
The victims being primarily the Gaza division. Let me just say, I actually did a whole bunch of research to figure out a chronology of the journalistic investigations into official Israeli claims about October 7th in order to see exactly by what time, what sort of the expiry date of various claims about October 7th was. At what point no responsible person who has done any due diligence could reasonably still be making certain claims. And the way she's talking about it was like kind of understandable very, very early on, but within a month already, most of the stuff that you could be horrified by was debunked. Either it didn't happen or Israel did it.
Attack, but also was overwhelmed by fear of what Israel was going to do next, which
it's both sides. It was horrifying what happened to the Gaza division of the IDF, those poor things. But it was also horrible what Israel was going to do in response. And in this context, it's worth remembering that the Palestinian resistance has always maintained that October 7th was a preemptive strike. That they claim that they had intelligence saying that Israel was planning on doing something like this anyway, and they were trying to get in before that. That actually is something they've been very consistent on. They haven't released any evidence. Who knows what they could release without compromising sources and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't think it's implausible at all, especially when there are things that we know about the effectiveness of their intelligence operations that would suggest that if it's true, they probably would have found out about it.
Likely be worse. Is how I felt at the time. And it has been. Yeah.
Okay, no use of the word genocide.
I
mean, the wild thing about this is there isn't even a chapter called Gaza. This is a chapter called Tarantino and Ultraviolence. The fucking genocide does not even get its own fucking chapter title.
Problem with doing this show is that the topics that interest me are all of the most thorny topics that the online left gets extremely aggravated by.
Yeah.
Like the genocide. I love when people the idea that the online left is its own entity is something that just needs to die. Because the thing is, we exist offline too. This is not 1996 when the internet was a place where a handful of nerds hung out and most people didn't know anything about what was going on. Everybody's on the fucking internet at this point. This idea that there is an online left that has nothing to do with the people who are the left the rest of the time is just nonsense.
So that is kind of the only thing that I want to talk about. And
yeah.
In that post that you're talking about, I think it was an Instagram story or whatever, this thing that circulated on Reddit.
Yeah, the very, very shitty statement about the genocide.
Sites. You talk about the left embracing hopeless causes. And maybe we'll talk about this behind the paywall, because I think this is actually incredibly important insight. But
embracing hopeless causes. Who decides that they're hopeless, though?
If you are engaged in politics to assume a moral high ground, but not to win material victories in the world, you intentionally choose topics by which you have no lever of power to change their outcome.
But the point that like literally any leftist who's been at it for any amount of time will make is that actually we do have the leverage because we're the fucking workers. We make all this shit work. Nothing works without us, and that's actually a whole lot of leverage, as it turns out. like what is he even talking about?
And that has made it, if you put together the psychological profile of the online leftist...
Oh, we're gonna psychologize.
This is kind of the perfect trap for them, because there's no lever they can pull in American politics either.
Yeah, there is. There absolutely is. First of all, the simple fact that this genocide could not happen. Well, fortunately, this does not appear to be an important insight anyway. It appears to be just him revealing his lack of insight. The thing is, when the supply chain for a genocide runs by all of our homes to a great extent, through railway lines and interstates and everything, and is made near where millions of us live, there's actually a lot of leverage, but you have to be willing to actually take the risk of using it. You have to actually take the step of working out how you're going to get enough people together, how you're going to do it. Like, are you going to just try to block it long term? Are you going to try to, cause delays? Are you going to just find other ways to fuck their shit up? But there are certainly ways. Like, there are levers, but it takes organizing, and it takes enough vision to know what you're going to be willing to actually try. And people like this are just absolutely, all they want to do is sort of the politics of defeat. All they want to do is explain why it can't happen. Like,
strike either through democratic inputs, like they don't have a hand in it. The most they can do is like lay in front of the tanks.
Yes.
Well, yes, and if that's the most we can do, then fucking hell, then that is still a lever, actually. But it isn't the most we can do, because again, the whole supply chain depends on our complicity. The whole thing depends on our acquiescence. But the thing is, that is a lot of power that we actually have, but you actually need a lot of people to understand that power exists and to understand how to exercise it in order to make it happen. It's not impossible. I mean, the fact that we had this multinational port strike in the Mediterranean, like 5 countries, workers in 5 countries shut down, I think, 20 major ports in the Mediterranean a couple of months ago. Key ports, absolutely essential to the international shipping, and particularly to Israel's shipping. That is an example of the shit that we could also do. There's no reason we can't do it just because if they can do it. It just means that they're better organized. They have more of a habit of doing these things. They're more used to it. So when people say, okay, we're going to shut down the ports, everybody knows exactly what that means, and they know what role they can play in it. We do not have that routine. We've started to develop something of it. I mean, you never hear anyone talk about it anymore. At least I don't. But you go back a few years to the heyday of BLM protests, and people were blocking fucking interstates and holding it for a while, like hours. That's recent memory, and people were doing that very effectively. Well, if you can do that, just block random interstates, then you can absolutely take that to the next level and block strategic spots. Like, this is not shit that is impossible. It is shit that requires a certain amount of organizing, a certain amount of consciousness, a certain amount of understanding of how you do it. That's the only thing that separates us from comrades in, like, Italy or Greece.
I don't see a lot of people doing that.
And people aren't doing that.
Some are, but not a lot of people.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
What is the thing that draws this online left audience to embrace causes that they cannot have a say in its outcome?
Like, again, with the assumption, he's already admitted that actually there is a way to have a say in the outcome. Like, I mean, the lying in front of the tanks thing. which I don't know if he means that metaphorically. I mean, because if he means it literally, we've seen that, like, Israel's happy to just run people over with tanks. So lying in front of them isn't going to fucking work. But if you admit that there is a thing you can do, then you can't anymore say that you're powerless to do it. And then you have to admit that actually maybe the reason people are focusing so heavily on this, the reason that this is such a huge issue, not just for the online left, look at the fucking polls. Overwhelmingly, this is a huge issue. The overwhelming majority of Democrat voters thinks Israel should fuck off. That it is time to cut Israel off and see if they will serve briefly as a boat. Okay? There's a fairly significant minority of even Republican voters as well also saying Israel can fuck off. Like, the majority position is that Israel could fuck off. This isn't just the online left, whoever the hell that is. This is a widespread thing, and maybe that's to do with the fact that what we're seeing is something fucking intolerable, and we all want to try to figure out if there's a way we can do something about it. Like, I mean, the thing is that people like this have so completely abdicated their position as any kind of moral actors. They have so completely just decided to position themselves on the sidelines of all of it, to just sort of comment on it, and not see themselves as in any way trying to encourage action, encourage popular intervention into things, that the very idea that people could be talking about this and paying attention to this and protesting about this and organizing around this specifically in order to build the capability to do something about this does not even occur.
I spent a lot of time thinking about exactly that question, because I think a lot of things go into it.
I mean, even just the framing is wild. Why would you try to make it about a lost cause? Like, I mean, like, the morality, the just flagrant immorality of just sort of saying, yeah, okay, the Palestinians are all gonna die, I guess we shouldn't bother with it because there's nothing to be done. I mean, leave that aside a second. Because nobody, like, that is unconscionable because it encourages people to do nothing. It encourages inaction. But could it possibly be that the reason people focus so heavily on it is that it is fucking morally intolerable? That it is literally the worst thing that most of us have ever seen? Like, could that possibly be the reason, Natalie? And, like, fucking Jeff Citronella or whatever the fuck your name is, Jeff Raid, some kind of bug killer.
One is a kind of people's identity becomes oppositional. Like, when you identify yourself as a radical, you think of yourself as anti-establishment.
I think I'm safe in assuming that we got a fair number of people in chat who would identify themselves, radical would be a term that they would probably be willing to associate with themselves. Would you say that that's just identifying as anti-establishment, whatever the hell that means? I mean, she has a need to make this all about people identifying one way or another, rather than just looking at why it is. Like, people are radicalized by actual things that they experience and see. They see something and it's like, yeah, this can't be allowed to happen. There's something deeply fucked up with our society and we need to do something about it. I mean, it is this way of looking at it, this way of just fucking psychologizing the whole thing and depoliticizing it is just deeply, deeply unserious.
That is who you are. That is the basis of all of your moral principles.
Yeah.
Which sort of...
Well, what if Natalie, you who like to present yourself as very knowledgeable about things, what if leftists' moral principles were actually also based on being for certain things? What if being for certain things was actually also part of it? I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're also for things.
It also implies that you don't want to be the establishment, or you don't want to even be associated with the establishment.
Well, yes, because the idea is to take it down and replace it with a decent society.
So one thing I get very frustrated with people self-styled radicals is that even when the left does have victories, the victories themselves...
How is she even defining the left?
Immediately spun into some kind of disappointment.
They don't actually want to be in power.
They don't want to be in power, yeah.
Well, I mean, God, this is so fucking condescending liberal bullshit. Like, maybe the reason... See, maybe the reason that it spun into a disappointment is that it turns out every single time you have one of these great left hopes get elected, it immediately turns out that all the stuff that people elected them to do is immediately shelved and never spoken of again. Like, look at fucking Mamdani. He had a whole list of things that he was going to do to stop, to at least make the situation of NYPD terror in the 5 boroughs a little bit more tolerable. Like shutting down the fucked up gang database and getting rid of Chief Tish, who is an absolute ghoul. And like auditing of all the overtime fraud and all that, and none of that has fucking happened. Completely gone. So maybe it isn't just about getting some politician in power. Maybe it is about actually achieving things. And maybe what you're talking about is just people realizing that this is not how we're going to achieve those things.
So like, I mean, you've seen it also already with like, well, we saw it with AOC and with Bernie Sanders, where
well,
like,
yeah, because they took shitty positions and people want accountability. Like, who gives a shit if somebody who gets endorsed by the Democrat supporters of America, I'm sorry, Democratic Socialists of America, gets elected? The only reason that is useful is if they actually do things to promote socialist politics, to promote revolutionary politics. The thing that I'm translating for the crowdfunded translation project, as it happens, is a long form article in thinking about exactly this. Like, to the extent that there's any point in having, like, revolutionaries of any kind participate in elections, what does that even look like? And the point is that the only way that that's at all useful is if they're actually using that as some sort of a tribune to promote revolutionary alternatives and to give a platform to that sort of an analysis and stuff like that. And when people just get there and all they do is like fucking eat hot chip and support Nancy Pelosi and Israel and shit like that, yeah, I mean, people have absolutely every right to be pissed off at them because they are just completely thumbing their noses at the people who elected them.
I feel like those people were the sort of champions of the left.
No, they weren't. They were the beneficiaries of the left. The left did serious legwork to get them elected. Well, not in the case of Bernie Sanders. He does not require legwork to get him elected. I mean, I guess in the presidential primary, certainly a lot of like sort of left, at the very least, like left-leaning, progressive-y, liberal-y type of people did a lot of legwork to try to get him in. But his congressional seat, like, he runs unopposed essentially because he has a deal with the Democrats. But the point is that, like, it's about accountability, and if they're not actually helping us once they're there, why exactly should we be supporting them? If in fact they're doing the opposite of helping us once they're there, then why shouldn't we be calling that out? Like, she seems to have an allergy to the concept of accountability that is perhaps linked to being a liberal internet celebrity.
Years ago, and now, like, oh my god, like I saw, like, when your wonderful mayor Zoran Mamdani got elected, like, he posted some picture of him with Bernie Sanders and AOC, and immediately, like, the faction of the online left that I'm
of the online left.
Here.
Like, I mean, this guy's grin. I mean, apart from the fact that he looks like Mr. Beast, which already kind of makes me want to, like, yeah, smack him. Like, this, like, fucking condescending grin that he has. Like, this is a guy who does nothing he contributes absolutely nothing to the struggle. He just sort of like condescendingly laughs at it. Like, wow, these people are actually trying to do something. That's so fucking stupid. They ought to just sit and laugh at them from the people trying to do something in the sidelines. Yeah.
Yeah. The reaction was like, wow, like I can't believe Zioron Mamdani would associate with these like genocidal Zionists.
Well, yeah, because they suck. I mean, Bernie Sanders ran cover for the genocide. He only changed his position on, like, on even supporting anything called a ceasefire when the Democrats as a whole decided to pretend to support a ceasefire. Oh, Josh Citronella. Yeah, God. Yeah, I can see why the mosquitoes don't want to be around him. Yeah, I mean, God, like, if I were a mosquito, I wouldn't want to be either. Oh, God. Okay. I think, yeah, let's see, what time is it? It's kind of time to wrap up for today. I just want to drop those links to the crowdfunded translation project into chat again. That if you want to read the finished translations, you can find them at the one of the links, and the other link is where you can donate. I'm trying to raise another like $310 to cover some fairly urgent expenses, and so all support in that regard is very much appreciated, and nobody should feel compelled to if they can't. Nobody should feel bad about that, because I know it's fucking hard at the moment, unless you're like some sort of liberal slopcaster who sneers at things. In which case, apparently, it's actually quite easy for that, as Josh Citronella is telling us. But if you can and you want to, it is always very much appreciated. I think we're going to come back to this. There's a lot of it, because it is fucking Natalie Wynn, and Natalie Wynn's at the sport of like fucking making extremely long videos. So, yeah, if you want to read the translations, check out the the second link, and if you want to make a donation, the first link is the place to go. And I will be back tomorrow at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, and I look forward to seeing you all there. Oh.